We have ATM MP leader, Mr. Vuyo Zungula, on the line. Mr. Zungula, good morning, and how are you?
I'm all right, Ms. V. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for your time this morning. And I think before we can even get started and, on your stance, because you've reached out to the Constitutional Court after the decision by the Western High Court ruling in favor of President Cyril Ramaphosa. Can you just tell us exactly, what you're asking the Constitutional Court to do in this matter?
We want the Constitutional Court to bring legal certainty, whereby the issues pertaining to stopping an impeachment process, there were previous judgments where it was very clear that the issues pertaining to an office bearer wanting to stop an impeachment process because they fear irreparable harm, they fear humiliation, those two previous judgments were very clear to say the fears of harm or the fears of reputational harm to their dignity cannot supersede the constitutional obligation of the National Assembly to hold them accountable in a form of impeachment. However, this particular judgment is contradicting the previous two judgments. And then the question is, for jurisprudence going forward now, what becomes legal precedence? Will it be those previous two judgments or is it going to be this one? The second issue is that this judgment on Friday creates, it's ambiguous in the sense that it does not clarify what a public impeachment proceeding is, because what the president went to court to ask for was to stop the impeachment process in its entirety. However, what then happened was that the court said only the public impeachment can stop, which is something that is unheard of, whereby if someone goes to court to ask for an impeachment process to stop, the court on their own cannot decide that, okay, we are going to say to them they must stop this particular aspect, and without that actually being ventilated in court. And the last issue that we want to really put out there is that in this particular case, there is precedence in that once you talk about the issues pertaining to impeachment or interim interdicts, the Concord previously ruled an interim interdict that impacts a state functionary, in this case Parliament, must satisfy the applicant, must satisfy that the applicant has good prospects of review. Remember, there's a main review that is happening in September. That is why there was this interdict case now. Now, the Concord previously ruled, then if a court is going to grant an interim interdict, it must peek into the grounds of the main review and assess its strengths, in the sense that it must look and say, these are the possible, it is probable that you will succeed in the main review, therefore you are going to be granted the interdict. But in this particular case, the court on Friday did not do that. One judgment, because there were three judgments, the judgment that actually was not in favor of the president went and looked at the possible prospects of success of the main review and said, no, the chances there are slim, therefore you are not going to be granted. So what we are wanting here is legal certainty, and not of a case of a judgment that will create legal precedents, and it is a judgment of two judges versus one, and not a full bench, which is a unanimous decision by the judges.
It sounds like it's a really compacted, issue, Mr. Zungula. And I think, what I wanted to touch on is when you mentioned that the court has decided to, to interdict one part, of that, of President Cyril Ramaphosa's application to interdict the whole impeachment committee. Can you tell me maybe why the reason, do you think, when you're getting your legal advice as well and legal, judgment on this or overview, why do you think that the Western Cape High Court decided that only the public impeachment process should be stopped and nothing else?
It's shocking. It's something that even us, we don't know.
Yeah.
Because firstly, from a legal perspective, when a party goes to court, they have to file something called a notice of motion. That notice of motion determines their prayers, which is what they ask the court to actually grant them. And then the affidavits and the papers, they deal with the substance in accordance to the notice of motion. Now, it can't be that now the court, when they are making a determination, even without discussing with the lawyers that were there or in the hearing, or probing them about the public impeachment, then they make a determination to say only the public aspect of things is actually interdicted. And if that is the case, Ms. V, it is in violation of Section 59 of the Constitution, because members of Parliament are not there in their personal capacity. They are not there because they are smart or anything. They are there because they were voted for by citizens. Members of Parliament are representatives of the people. Therefore, you can't then have a case where a court makes a determination that the members of Parliament can conduct their business, but conduct their business in a manner that is not open for their public, which is their bosses, to actually see what's happening. So hence, from our side, it becomes important that this judgment that is so wrong in many fronts gets to be challenged and gets to be set aside, because it is something that would damage the constitutional role of accountability, separation of powers, and the openness of Parliament when it comes to conducting its affairs.
Good morning, Mr. Zungula. I hope you're well. Garth speaking here. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Yes, okay. I can hear you.
Okay, so just also in part of the Phala Phala case itself, is this case ultimately about Phala Phala itself, or is it about protecting Parliament's constitutional powers from being delayed by litigation? In your view, what do you say on that?
It's more about protecting Parliament. Remember, the first, in the recent years, the public protector was subject to impeachment. The courts back then really protected Parliament and emphasized that Parliament has got this constitutional obligation. Like I stated with Ms. V, there is definitely going to be more litigation in future pertaining to office bearers who are who do not want to be subjected to impeachment. Now, the challenge that we are going to face is that we may find a situation whereby more office bearers, whether it is heads of Chapter 9 institutions, future president, all wanting to interdict Parliament from being subjected to impeachment process. Now, this judgment creates loopholes in which any public office bearer can say, I fear being humiliated, therefore I'm not going to be subjecting myself to that particular impeachment process. And unfortunately, because there is precedence in this case, all of those office bearers who use humiliation as a reason of wanting to prevent Parliament from holding them accountable can win, because this case, if not challenged, will lead to precedent.
Set the precedent.
And on the subject of accountability, so there's a lot of critics saying that this matter has now dragged on for 4 years, while South Africans still don't have any clear type of answer. Do you believe that justice is delayed here, or is it justice being denied?
It's delayed and denied. Remember, guys, it's very difficult to hold a sitting president accountable.
I would imagine.
Because he's got the entire state under him. Remember the powers of the president, the ministers appointed by him, the bills that we make in Parliament, they go to him for final accent. Even the judges that now are going to be hearing this particular case, some of them, if they're in the lower courts, they know only one person can actually appoint them to higher courts. If they're in the constitutional court, they know that only one person can appoint them to be the deputy chief justice or chief justice. So the powers that be when it comes to holding a sitting president accountable, know that the powers are tilted towards the president. So it is something that is difficult because if you think about it, it is not undisputed that there were undeclared dollars in the farm of the president.
Yes.
And that when those dollars were stolen, there was an illegal operation to retrieve those dollars, which led to state resources being used. Now, you can't then imagine how state institutions, like in this particular case, the courts, do not rule in favor that an inquiry must be held to determine the veracity of such claims, and especially in light of a president that is saying that he's innocent. Because if he's innocent, that inquiry provides him the platform to speak his truth. And if perhaps there's this argument that we as ATM were using that for political reasoning and, it's got nothing to do with accountability, he can go to that inquiry, rubbish whatever claims that we've made against him with the truth, and that way he embarrasses us because the public say, but you accused the president of 1, 2, 3 for so many years. He came with truth and you did not have evidence to back up your claims. We will be the ones that are embarrassed. However, he does not want to do that. The question is why, and why are the courts therefore refusing, in this particular case, such an inquiry?
Yeah.
Some people are saying, Mr. Zungula, that, the ATM should have rather gone for the Supreme Court of Appeal first rather than straight to the Constitutional Court. Can you maybe, with your legal experts, obviously you went through the judgment and, you decided to go this route straight to the Constitutional Court. But what benefits is that doing for the ATM's case, going straight to the Constitutional Court rather than starting from the Supreme Court of Appeals?
The judgment in itself has got constitutional bearing, and only the Constitutional Court can provide legal certainty on that constitutional bearing.
Okay.
For example, the public impeachment hearings being interdicted goes straight in violation of the Section 59 of the Constitution, where it says the manner in which the Parliament must operate must always be open to the public. So that's the first thing. The second thing here is that previously the ConCourt had previously adjudicated the process that needs to be followed for an interim interdict to be granted when it impacts a state functionary, that it must take into the grounds of the main review. This court did not do that. So to provide legal certainty, especially in that there are constitutional matters at play, because remember, South Africa is a constitutional democracy, and because it is a constitutional democracy, only the Constitutional Court can interpret whether an action is basically constitutional or not. The High Courts or the Supreme Court of Appeal cannot enter that fray. It is only the Constitutional Court that has got the mandate to determine whether any action is constitutional or not. And the issues that we've raised in our papers on that judgment, they speak to how we view that the judgment in itself brings about constitutional questions which needs to be answered by the Constitutional Court.
All right. That's clear as well. So if the Constitutional Court now agrees to hear your appeal and rules in your favor, what happens next practically? Does Parliament immediately resume its impeachment inquiry? What happens then? What motion will it drive to?
Your question is very important, Missy, because one of the issues that we raise is how the order on Friday is vague, because it is open to interpretation on different fronts. I'm sure between Friday and today, all over the news, you've been hearing different interpretations that on one side, only the public hearings are interdicted. On the other side, someone will say the entire process is interdicted.
Yes.
And based on Section 1C of the Constitution, you can't have vague court orders. because a vague court order becomes difficult to enforce, becomes difficult for people to comply with, because how do you vaguely comply with a court order? So, but should we win, in fact, we are sure positive that we're going to win. We are going to then have legal certainty, firstly, that the process must proceed, and at the same time, there must be no instance whereby Parliament is stopped by office bearers when it comes to people who do not want to be held accountable. And also the legal principles that determine how an interdict can be granted when it affects a state functionary will be re-emphasized, so that in future any litigation concerning interdicting a state functionary, it will be clear and not subject to different interpretations.
Just speaking on the different interpretation and that ambiguity of that, the judgment, my question is now, for any South African, can we understand or know that if Parliament has the parliamentary committee that is supposed to be looking into this impeachment process, have they stopped working, or is it because of that interpretation that they are continuing their work despite this judgment? Like, we need to understand that part. Are they continuing their work now because of the partial interdict or so on?
On Wednesday, there's a meeting.
Yes.
And the meeting that was decided on last week, that we must meet on Wednesday, according to the chairperson, that meeting proceeds.
Okay.
According to the ANC and their reading of the judgment, everything has been stopped.
Sure.
And it is precisely because of a vague order.
Yeah.
It creates legal uncertainty, because in that committee, you're then going to have members of parliament between parties. One will say, let's proceed. Others will say, actually, let's not proceed, because of how the order is worded in a form that is vague. And like I've just emphasized, a vague court order cannot be legal. It cannot be lawful, because how then, especially in a parliament space whereby there's different political parties who are, advancing different interests, and at the same time, even with the legal advisors that were there, you can't have a court order for it to be actually complied with. It will require different legal advisors to provide a legal opinion whether what must happen. So that is why on Wednesday we are going to have that challenge. We are going to have a challenge on Wednesday, not because the committee is challenged, because the court order that impacts the work of Parliament is vague, and we are of the view that you should not be having a vague court order.
Right, Mr. Zungula, thank you so much for your time. I think you've clarified a few things as well, and I guess it's just an ongoing battle, between the African Transformation Movement, President Cyril Ramaphosa, the processes in Parliament as well. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, God bless.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Thank you. All right. That is Mr. Vuyo Zungulage, who's speaking on behalf of the African Transformation Movement. He's the Member of Parliament and leader of the party in Parliament. And it's going to be an ongoing battle, isn't it?
It's going to be, and I feel like they're not going to let go of the rope right about now.
Yeah.
And we might have failed ourselves by thinking that it was just going to be, listen, President, somebody you've been summoned to court. You need to come and speak here.
Yeah,
it was never going to be that simple.
And
right?
It's interesting how he's also speaking on the note that we've always said: if you have nothing to hide, or you understand that you have evidence and proof that will show you that you did nothing wrong,
then why all the blocking process? Allow the process just to do its thing and to run its course.
So,
and I think because he's sort of President Cyril Ramaphosa is sort of anti this process going anywhere. That is sort of fueling the fire amongst a lot of the other parties, where they are not going to be letting go of this so quickly.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
Because it definitely leaves a bad taste in everybody's mouths. The fact that if you have not, like I say, we have nothing to hide. You'll stand there and let the chips fall where they may. It's fine, right? The truth never needs defending.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
In this case, yeah, it doesn't look like the ATM is going to be stopping this probe anytime soon.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Right. So that is the conversation that we've just had now with the leader of ATM in Parliament, Mr. Vuyo Zungula.